basically, let's talk about a little bit of what happened here, and then maybe what to look for, uh, the next couple of weeks. Obviously, you got the holidays, you got low liquidity, you're going to get these exaggerated moves in both directions. Um, how you doing, Trey? We saw him on the way down. We saw it on the way up today. If you remember, those of you who were on the webinar on Sunday night, we were talking about how, based on what we were looking at, bears were running out of time, and they basically had this week where with VIX up elevated where it was at, and where sentiment has washed out and deterioration in breadth and individual names, it was to the point where there either had to be some sort of fireworks, right? The bears had to pull something out of their ass, whether it was another COVID headline, anything, and it had to happen quick. Otherwise, they were in big, big trouble. And big trouble means, and this is what's so difficult about playing the short side in this game. Everybody thinks you short and you catch a COVID crash and it just goes straight down. That never happens, as a lot of you know. Never, ever. Think about, when you're trying to catch a nice move on the upside, how much agita and stress and pain you got to sit through on these pullbacks and shakeouts. Times that by 1,000 on the short side. 1,000. Okay. So what usually happens is you get to a point like we got to here, right? Very similar to the last pullback too, last go around in October, where you get enough sentiment support, you get enough deterioration in breadth, you get enough bears leaning, right? Even we were talking about how this, to this point, resembled a lot of similarities to late 2018, right? We're not the only ones talking about it. Everybody was talking about it. So luckily, we're not trying to position on the short side by talking about it. There are people who want to make money on the downside who did. And if they, like, in other words, you want to catch the move here, right? Let's say this is the start of a bear market. Could be. None of us know. Okay? None of us know. You got to sit through these things, constantly if you're going to try to cash that ticket on the downside. That's what I can never understand about bears, is that they don't realize, they're drawn in by the massive downside potential. But if you want to catch that downside, you're going to have to sit through shit like this. And it's easier said than done. It's darn near impossible, right? What do you do right now? What do you do right now if you started legging into a short over here? All right? What do you do? You have no, I mean, in my opinion, unless you're piecing in, and that's some of the, smarter money, that's the way they do it on the short. They keep adding in different spots. But if you want to play it tight, like most retail players or most so-called professional players like to play it, you got to stop yourself out here. Otherwise, you get wiped out, right? And then revisit. But, I think a lot of players on the short side, especially some of the newer players out there, don't realize how difficult it is to, catch that downside, that big ticket, right? Of course, it's appetizing when you scroll back and look at a chart like this. Right? Come on, right? When you keep scrolling back and looking at a chart like this, you say, "Oh shit!" Sooner than later, there's going to be a nice kick in the gut, right? But you got to sit through a lot of pain, at least initially, to try to catch even a piece of that. And nobody's got the wherewithal to do it. Nobody has the firepower. Why would we want to do it, right? It's not worth it. That one trade's not worth it because we're not going to catch it right anyway. But that's irrelevant. So we were talking about how we were at that point, right? Whether it's today, whether it's tomorrow or the next day, the likelihood there was going to be something like this. This was a monster, right? I mean, on top of yesterday's move and today. But, are we surprised by this anymore? I'm not surprised. Are you guys surprised? Right? When you got gamma all wound up, right? We see this constantly now, constantly. So we all wish, like you guys were talking about, what we wanted, right? We like we always want. We want to hang around here. So, we get a lot more strength behind the signal, a lot more conviction behind the signal. And then maybe we could get a little more aggressive, right? Outside of just the trade. So obviously we would have liked it to play out a little differently, take a little bit longer, but that's the story of our lives. We've been talking about that now for at least a year off every pullback, you know? Okay, so where are we now anyway? And I sound like a broken record when we get to this point, guys, but it's the same same old, okay? If we'll see how much water some of those bullish sentiment signals take on, right? We had a bullish tactical sentiment, not yesterday, the day before here. Your regular fear, greed, all that shit was all washed out. So I don't think there's going to be too much damage. Some of the shorter term ones are going to be the worst of it, right? But my opinion, if this stops here, I think it ends up becoming a more bullish scenario. You understand? So very similar. I got deja vu. Okay, a little different, but I'm basically talking the same game plan here, right? So here, all right, if you remember, those of you around, I said, guys, if this can fail or look like it can fail and hang around here, we don't need new lows. Just hang around here. Don't run away. Hang around here. Big picture wise, it's more bullish than we overheating to the upside. Because what happens is, okay, fine, we're going to make some money in here, right? As you all did, trading the Roblox, the TTDs, all those names. Great, okay? But once you get through this period here, right, which is only a week these days, this is dangerous. This is where all the risk lies. This is where we're playing hot potato, and we don't want to get caught with anything, and we're scared shitless to hold anything overnight. You understand? So we have the same situation again here. Same exact situation. Okay. If we can breathe off of this, maybe there's another Omicron news, even though that seems like it's getting totally washed away now. Or we got the CPI Friday. Probably the tacticals, I gotta believe, dead or close to dead. But it's not bullish anymore anyway. You know? Ajita, right. We got all worked up over this Omicron, and all of a sudden it's gone, just like that, poof, in a matter of days. But you can see how quickly things happen. Everybody already, people, they bought this yesterday. Okay, yesterday there was a lot of buying that came in the past 2 days from across the board. All right. So now you got players that are betting on that Santa rally. All right. You got the statistics, you got seasonality, you got everything. You got the news that's turning a little more favorable, even though in reality, nothing's changed. We didn't know much about the Omicron virus when it started, and we're still trying to figure things out. The Fed, what happened with the Fed? Nothing changed with the Fed. Nothing at all. It goes to show you, right? With all the noise. Okay? You got still the same issue where inflation running on the hot side, the Fed has got to quicken the taper process and possibly doing it into a slower economy. Maybe some of the economic numbers were a little bit better over the last couple of days. Okay, maybe that changed a bit, right? Or maybe China, what's another big thing that kind of got swept under the rug? China looks like they are going to grease things a little bit more. right? That was the news out of last night. That kind of got swept under the rug, and everyone's think this is a Omicron rally, and China's been the big issue. So could be a big difference. But regardless, we don't want it to be easy here. I still can't buy Baba. We don't want it to be easy here. You understand? We want some selling. We want to appear like this is failing and possibly going to test or break lows. Okay? Keep sentiment in check. And the cherry on top would be the flow starts to improve, because the flow's been shit too. Now, granted, it's the holidays, but I'm, as you guys who watch the flow with me and have some experience with it, not impressive at all at the least. I had a couple of decent bets here and there, but you don't see that excitement amongst sweepers. Okay. So, and there are times when we used to have normal pullbacks where sometimes you didn't get that initially, and then you got it kind of the retest, right? The retest doesn't have to test exactly the lows. The retest has got to test the temperament of the bulls who started chasing here. Shake them out, and then that's where the real buying comes in. Okay, so if you look, when's the last setup? It's been all Apple, exactly. It's been all Apple. When's the last setup? You guys know, because we talk about it every week. When's the last decent sweet spot setup off a consolidation correction we've had in this market? Like a real good one. The last one. Can you guys remember? Election, right? The election, okay? And if you look what happened there, why do we refer to it as a sweet spot? Look what happened. Now, basically, everything is on fast forward, it feels like now, right? But you had a low, you had sentiment washed out here, okay? And this rip happened, okay? Where we didn't break highs, and then we started to roll over again. And by this point here, everybody was suicidal. You remember the election was going to take down the whole entire economy. That's how bad it was, right? Hedge funds got short. You name it. Everybody was shorting the shit out of that. And then, boom. And you see what this led to, just not even the price action, the health behind the move, right? Cyclicals were involved, small caps were involved. You had it all. It wasn't just Apple. You had it all. You know what I mean? So that's what led to this gorgeous rally out of that consolidation here. So just so you guys understand what I'm talking about, that's exactly what I'm referring to, right? They never look exactly the same, but we need something like that. Okay. Now it feels like this move happened all in 2 days, the past 2 days, right? That's what it feels like this go around. All right. So however it plays out, the last thing we want, if we want to change the climate of what we've been in, where you can count on one hand all the stocks that are catching the aggressive sweeper activity and have the best price action. And then when they overheat, you're kind of like staring at things. You want to change that climate. At the least, we need something like this. At the least. And I'll tell you what, with the deterioration that's gone on under the hood, okay, I don't even know why we look at the indices anymore, because the indices are so misleading, right? They tell you nothing about what's going on in the market. You look at some of the individual names out there across the board, and if you think we're in a crash, right? You think we were in a crash. This is nothing. We have barely even pulled back, and there are names out there that are just getting wiped out, bleeding out, bleeding out. So That's a good thing that we're at that point already. Okay, because a lot of damage has been done. A lot of damage has been done to a lot of those names. So if we can get this thing to hang out a little bit here, right? Chop around, even God forbid test lows, we get another. You see what I mentioned in the note? I jinx it. I'm almost to the point where I can't even write this shit in the notes. The market gods like to frustrate the daylights out of me. Okay. We just wanted, right? We always want another one more. It seems like that, right? But we wanted one more tactical bullish sentiment signal, and you would have had everything lined up. Okay. So fine. It didn't work out that way. That's what we want here now. And we got to be ready, right? And know what to do when that time comes. Okay. That's what we're rooting for here. Now, whether it happens or not, it hasn't happened since the election. Okay. What do we do if it doesn't happen and we go back to the same old story again? It's the same playbook, right? Same playbook. You go to the more tactical playbook. You go and play where the momentum is at, right? Where the most aggressive sweeper activity, what names they're in, that's what we focus on. And we look to play off the momentum. We don't look to build positions in oversold names or any of that shit, right? We want to just ride the momentum. Why? Because if this thing extends, you're going to run into heat again, and heat equals risk, right? Look at this. Look at me. I'm like Madden. Heat equals risk, right? No matter what you buy into here, you're taking on risk. No matter what. So we want to hope we can avoid that, right? And we want volatility. We want selling. We want things to fail right now because we don't want it to be too easy because you get everybody crowding in. You know what happens right now at this point, if this extends? You guys have no idea what's going to go on with that. With this little pullback here, right? You had CTAs, those systematic funds, who basically were the source behind this whole rally. Okay? They got flushed out already. They got flushed out. They're gone. Okay? So now, if this thing starts extending, they gotta get back in. It's not a choice on their part. They're not going to think about it and say, oh, maybe it's not a good idea. They're programmed to do so. And as the VIX deteriorates, right, as volatility comes in and deflates, they have to add exposure. So, and what about Gamma? Right? Gamma's been sitting, especially SPX Gamma negative, right? Greasing up the streets. Everybody thinking move to the downside. Now what happens? They turn this ship in the other direction. So this thing can happen fast. And again, when you hear me talk about it, it sounds bullish. Okay. And it very well is for a week. You know what I mean? For a week these days. And then you got to be careful again. Then you got to be careful. And that's the problem with building positions on the swing side, especially with options in an environment where you don't get that reset like we want. Okay. You may make money on those swing positions for a week, but if you have intention, right, if you're going to buy 3 to 6 months out and build a position, you're not looking to sell that thing in a week. Right. And on the flip side, it's nice to have a cushion after a week. No one has any complaints about that. But then what happens now? All of a sudden, after a week, you gotta worry about holding overnight positions and downside just like that. That's it, Presley. That's it. So we know the two scenarios, right? if we have it play out the way we want, we're paying attention to what we already look at, the sentiment signals we look at, and sweeper activity. And we got to be ready to pounce when things line up. Okay. If it just goes back to the same old playbook like we've been in post-election, okay, we want to be nimble, right? You could be a little looser at the start here, okay, but as things get heated, you got to be more careful. You got to be more careful. We're already seeing it. That's what I'm saying. It happened so fast, right? You guys saw the net put delta on SPX yesterday. They sold puts. There was no put buying yesterday. You know, granted, it was a rally. Okay, it wasn't like there was supposed to be huge put buying, but you know, it was a really low reading already. You know, look at this. Come on, trading. Okay, here's again. You put the call. Whoop, nice spike, right? Boom. Look, one day. One day. Right? So you see how quick things can happen. You get another week of upside, this thing might be down here by that point. Right? Yep. Exactly. Exactly. You know, so that's the problem we face. It's so damn fast out there. It's so damn fast. Right? And the rallies where you can feel comfortable and not worry about being so tactical are the ones that really make a dent in the player psyche. You understand? After COVID, players their mind frame was so demolished and so bearish. It took a lot of work to get them to feel bullish again. You understand? After 2018, that debacle, it took months before people were tripping over themselves to get long again. Worried because it's in the back of their mind. You know, it's in the back of their mind. Now, the only thing that's on their mind is a V-shaped rally to new highs and one of these FANG names going ballistic. That's what's in their mind. So even though there was so much good that we got out of this, right, across the board, every single indicator, right, from short to intermediate term, all lining up perfectly, all of it. But it could disappear so quickly these days, so quickly. We are going to have a proper setup without a doubt. And you got to understand too, right? We talk about this all the time, not as an excuse, but we've been dealing with a rigged game. You understand? We've been dealing with a rigged game. There was so much damn liquidity out there, so much money out there, people throwing money at the market. They were paying people to stay home and to put money in the market. Think about that. That's like the casino giving you a check. Here you go gamble at the tables. Quit your job, go gamble at the tables. That's what they were doing. You know, so a lot of people think it's not going to come. I don't think it's ever going to come to an end. Like a lot of you agree with me, but there are periods similar to late 2018 where the Fed tries to fix what they did. They think they can. So you go through a period where the game's unrigged in a sense, and that's where things get really sloppy, you know? So, you know, maybe this is the go around. Right? Again, I'm not talking bear market. I'm talking about corrections, right? I'm talking about corrections. The other thing that we talk about every week, right, is that if they're not rigging the game, you got buybacks that are rigging the game, right? These companies are buying back every effing dip, So how are you going to have any reset or any half decent setup when you have, so much money that could just come into every little pullback you get? Yeah, last week, I'm glad you reminded me of that. Last week, they across the board, everything, they threw money at this dip. And the funny thing is, they just got shaken out too. Remember, we were talking about how nobody wanted to buy, no one wanted to get long equities at all. Look at this. Big buying of the dip. Flows say risk overblown, hedge funds, retail, institutions, all bought the dip. Corporate buybacks. Buybacks by corporate clients picked up to the highest level, as Ryan just said, since March. Previously, we haven't seen any evidence of corporates accelerating buybacks into year end. Usually, buybacks aren't a factor at the end of the year. But they had the dip. Why not? Right? You got the cash. So they threw money into this dip here. Here's weekly flows by client and sector. Last week is the light blue. Here's buybacks. They led the way. Institutions, retail, and look at hedge funds. Oh God, these hedge funds. Here's sectors. They bought industrials, financials, energy. Tech, still nobody wants it. Actually, institutions are the only ones who bought tech, I think, right? This is institution. Yeah, institutions. This is retail, sold tech. Where's hedge funds? Oh, where's hedge funds? Oh, this is hedge funds. Here. Yeah, I think exactly. I posted it this morning. I think Zero Hedge tweeted it out. I think December 10th is the blackout period for buybacks. For buybacks. Yeah. So there was a lot of good, but stuff happens. Things move so damn fast that it wouldn't. A week, guys. A week with the way things are lined up, we'd get a solid week. It would be a fun week. I kid you, it'd be a fun week, right? Equivalent to the week where we played the Roblox, the shop, the TTD, that type of week. Okay, that's great. It's great. Don't get me wrong. We're going to make money, so that's never a bad thing. But you have to pay attention to the risk beyond that week, because all that money you make means nothing. You'll give it back in a snap of a finger, like what just happened. Exactly what just happened. And don't let the market fool you, because the market may not come in much. The market may not come in much, but individual names can get eaten up alive, especially if they're out of favor. All right. So look at this. Look at the good we had here. Right. Again, the last pullback we had a real nice setup too, sector sentiment wise. But the pre-election, you had every single thing lined up. It was a beautiful thing. So remember, everything was overheated. Everything, right? Everything was overheated. I got excited. I thought we were going to get semis here. You believe this shit? I thought we were going to get semis. There's nothing better than a setup where they got flushed out of semis. Look at this. Even REITs that they loved because of inflation. Retail, going into the holiday season, people were piling into it. Look at this shakeout. Look at this. consumer discretionary. So that's the story, right? We rally from here, and you're gonna make mashed potatoes out of all this. And again, we play, but just understand that the more we extend away from the bullish signal, the more risk you're going to take on if you're holding onto things. The more you hold, the more risk you're going to take on. What was in a? I mean, there was so much. The last group of things, and again, we didn't have enough of a pullback for Sharpies to get in. We'll see if Sharpies did anything this week. It's going to be interesting. Now we got a rally on top of it to make it even worse. Look at this, right? These are the Goldman indicators, the sentiment indicators. Now look at this. These are major indicators where you're moving in this direction nicely. And I think another thing that told the whole story too, because of the names they were hitting. Right? You guys seen all these risk appetite indicators I've been posting? Look at this washout. Look at this. Look at this. You're talking about, legitimate washouts. Legitimate washouts. So again, as we discussed Sunday, there were a lot of things, right? Well, we were saying that we were probably somewhere in this vicinity, right? And bears had to make a move. You know what I mean? With VIX where it was, this thing had to really set off some fireworks. Otherwise, they were dead. They had such a small window. They couldn't even wait for the CPI Friday. They didn't have that big of a window. VIX was up. I mean, VIX was factoring in market moves of psychotic behavior. Off what? You know what I mean? Off what? Was it not positioning, right? VIX. There wasn't any ridiculous offside positioning into VIX ahead of this move. That's why some of those, right, the Gamma Gang and those guys, they didn't get long equities, right? They shorted VIX, right? VIX puts. That was probably the most prudent play, as far as on the bullish side of things. They were a bit early. We talked about that. I think they were early, but the earliness ended up being right. They had to take on a little bit of water, but they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. So that's what we want, guys. That's what we want. If we don't get it, right, we can't just sit here and pray for what we want, because it happen. It doesn't happen often. But not only just price action. Again, I wouldn't pay a lot of attention to the indices, because they're extremely misleading these days. We could see this play out so many different ways right now. Okay. We can, maybe the major indices don't get crazy, right? And they grind or they chop around or whatever. And you see a lot of these oversold, and there's so many oversold names lift off the bottom, right? You have a little seasonality aspect to that as well. Okay, you get the tax loss selling, and then players picking up all the pieces. So you get the garbage. Some of them rally significantly. All right. So what we want to do is, instead of just keeping our eyes on the indices and try to figure, okay, what's S&P 500 doing, blah, blah, blah. We want to look at the individual names in flow and try to pick up on the hot theme, the hot trade going into year end. That's exactly what we want to do. And if we can have our cake and eat it too, the market get stuck, doesn't make new highs, but under the hood, all the deterioration in those names, they outperform. You understand? That would be our cake and eat it too here, because it would help keep the market in check and allow it to set up again. And we can really still play tactically in a lot of names and not give a shit of what the market's doing. And like I said, we haven't seen that yet at all. And usually every time around this time of year, you see that type of action, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. The flight to crap. You know, names have been destroyed. Like there's one name today. I know you guys ask me about it constantly on here, right? This STNE, a fintech name. Look what they did to this thing. Okay? Look what they did to this thing. This is a massacre in a market that's right off new highs. Look at this. Right, Aunt Jemima, definitely. That's a Christmas tree. It's a Christmas tree, for Christ's sake. You know, so there, guys, there's so many names like this. There's so many. You know, and listen, some are better fundamentally than others. Other ones are straight up story stocks and, you know, total hype jobs. But around this time of year, you get stuff that looks like this show some life. And, you know, sometimes you get lucky, they can go bananas, because you can understand what's been going on here. You have this thing being aggressively shorted for, this is a bear and a short's wet dream, a stock like this. Do you realize that? You never get shaken out of this. You never have to hedge or cover your shorts. Look at this. No pain. All right? No pain at all. And what happens, and that's how it manifests. What happens now, these shorts start to lock in some profit, right? And put some hedges on by buying calls, and it creates a little bit of a frenzy, and you get some real nice moves. This was, was this a Bill Wing stock? This was one of them? I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Wow. So there's like Viacom and the rest of them. They all look like that. Buffett, Jesus Christ. So that's something we want to pay attention to, even more so now that the squeeze, the sentiment squeeze, has taken place. Okay, because like I said, we don't know where some of the the shorter term sentiment is, like tactical sentiment, stuff like that. You know, we know the squeezometer is over 60. But even if short term sentiment is hot as a whole, we still have opportunities in these things. You know, these things are anything but hot. You know, and it's not just this, guys. There are major names that have had similar price action. Major names. You know, or not even stocks that have deteriorated this bad. They've just been straight out death. They haven't done anything. Look at it, Square. Or exactly, there's a million of them. You know, first of all, you can scroll through all of ARK plays, right? They're all on there. You can scroll through biotech. There's so many pockets of these things, so many. You know, so many. So don't get too discouraged. I don't know where the body bags are. I have no idea. I don't know. Maybe there's that much liquidity out there that you avoid body bag season. I never seen so much damage in so many names without body bags. So many widely held fund names. Like these aren't names that nobody owned. Everybody was so bullish of these things. You know, even the China stocks, Presley. Like, you know how many people own those China tech names? They love those things, huge positions. Where are the body bags? Big funds. That's a good question. I've been trying to figure that out for a long time now. A long time. You know, so that's one, right? That's one scenario. Okay. Yeah, they've been doing it for years too, Presley, for years pounding the table. The other scenario, in my opinion, right? Well, you could have the rush for quality, right? For me, that would be the worst case scenario because that's where all the eyeballs are. That's where all the sentiment is. That's where you cook the quickest. Okay. So you have a rush to the widely held names, the FANG names. A degree lower than that, that isn't as bad, again, in my opinion, is a rush to quality, but quality underbelly. All right. So you had names that people were really, really excited about that got shaken out recently because of rates, taper, the whole 9 yards. Right. Exactly. Right. So all these names, D-Dog. Exactly. Right. So, you know, they spit up. They got people to spit up out of them. They loved them a couple of weeks ago. They could come right back in, right back in. Right. So these are the things we want to keep an eye on. Both price action and sweeper activity will tip us off to, you know, what they're doing in these things. Snow, right? Right? These, like, you know, these are still good looking. These, right? These aren't ugly. These look like normal pullbacks. They got a little too hot and they caught a nice beating, right? As we were saying, whoever is chasing you up here now is probably going to catch a beating at some point. Okay? They spit up basically right back to where it started. And now there could be a scenario where people come in and buy this here. Later, Trey, right? So this is another scenario we need to keep an eye on over the next couple of weeks. Roadblocks, all these things. All right. I really, honestly, I don't know. You know, it could be even a number of these things. You know, I don't know which way it's going to go. I don't even have a gut feeling. You know, I know that seasonally, usually they go into a lot of the garbage for a squeeze, right? Because of the I guess it's based off tax law selling. Is that why they do that usually? Is that what it is? A, B, and B. That's another one. That's another one. That's a good looking name. You know? So I think this is the route a lot of you would prefer because you like these names. You know, again, this is quality growth, right? Net, I think net caught a nice wash. No, don't tell me it's back at new highs. Oh, there you go. There you go, right? Like you can't see them coming back and just buying the hell out of this thing and boop, new highs in a blink of an eye, right? So I would definitely keep an eye out for that. I would definitely keep an eye out for that. And like I said, I think that's probably one of the more bullish scenarios because they're underbelly names. You know what I mean? They're not widely looked at as far as sentiment purposes are concerned, like a FANG or an Apple Chase or NVIDIA. And these are all, you know, they're looked at as the new leaders, right? That's the hype behind them. Exactly. That's what I was trying to get at, Presley. Exactly. You don't need to rely on the market necessarily. You know what I mean? These names can march to the beat of their own drum. market could be dead. We already seen that, right? And they could be gunning Roblox. That's a stud. That's always been a stud. They just finally had a big quarter to get recognized for how great of a company they are. You know, like this name, this is nothing new. We've been talking about this name for ages. It's just been slow. It's just been slow. I don't know why. You know, I don't know why. But now they're probably going to buy every dip in that Marvel. Wow, this thing's strong. Didn't they hit some of these too? Recent hype, the crowds of the world. Look at crowd. Look what they did to it. Yeah, S. They have earnings, I think. S. Yeah, so Roblox again. They had the one good quarter, but because of that quarter, like if you're going to play that whole metaverse, which I still have no fucking clue what that is, right? You know, you're going to go to a name like this and this. You know, these are the names that first pop up in people's heads when they want exposure to that new hot group. You know, it's not pure speculation like some of these EV plays. Like these companies, you know, they have revenue, they have real growth. Yeah, Roblox, every kid in the world's on that thing. You know, every kid in the world's on that thing. Oh, that's a stud. That goes into underbelly stud without a doubt. We already seen flow. They always find a way to buy this name. Always. Yeah, I saw Meta. I thought Facebook changed its symbol when I first saw that. Meta. But yeah, now already caught solid sweeper activity. You know, they always buy now on a dip. Always. It's such a great dip buy name now. You know, that you lose money in now buying the dip when the market rolls over. You know, that's your risk with now. It's just a stud. Workday is more like CRM material. They're bigger. You know what I mean? You got Salesforce, Adobe, Workday. So they've been around a while and kind of done their thing. It's not that, you know, hot growth category. Plan is, weirdly enough, I don't even know their business, but it moves with cyclicals more than it moves with software. Oh, yeah, Plan is more of like a cyclical software name. Again, I don't know their business why, but Team, without a doubt, TTD, right? Yeah, who you guys know these? We just got done playing them. It feels like a week ago. Yeah, Plan, and you know, I'm a little biased to Plan because I made a nice hit with this thing, but it does look pretty awful. SE, yeah. Yep. Probably is an opportunity. And I think we're going to get answers to which route this goes quick. Okay. So again, we don't want to force the issue. We kind of want to see both the momentum and sweeper activity confirm it. We don't want to forecast where the money may go because, you know, you can very easily see a hot CPI, rates start to push higher again, and they don't go into these things. You know, it can definitely happen. It can definitely happen. And they go into, you know, the more cyclical commodity reopening, that whole part of the market. You know, we're talking about a trade into year end, early January. That's, you know, that's basically what we're looking at here. So, you know, like I said, I think it's either going to be the studs that we just went over or a more speculative look, the crap. But it can go cyclical reopening without a doubt. We got to keep our eyes open. No, I didn't talk about the Apple sweep yet. I mean, that was a monster. I don't know, you know. Again, it's not coming early. we've seen, I mean, how many Apple sweeps have we seen over the past 3 weeks? It's been mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. So yeah, it's a monster. There's nothing I can say about it. It's a monster. Clean monster. It's big. For those of you who don't know what the hell we're talking about, that's not it. Here it is. That's not it. Did I not label it top bets? I probably didn't label it top bets, right? I always got to get clever. No, I didn't play Apple. I didn't play anything today. I didn't play anything because the anti-VIX was on sell signal and the squeezometer was hot, and I didn't play anything. Yesterday I had a good day. Yesterday I had a really good day. But we came into yesterday. The difference was we came into yesterday off a bullish tactical sentiment signal. You know what I mean? That was the difference. That was the difference. Here's the now action from the other day. Look at, you want to talk about bombs? These are bombs. Those are bombs. Single strike data. What are you talking about? This? What stuff? I use a million different things. Is that the whatchamacallit you may be thinking of? Dan, I use so many different things. Single strike. Oh, premium paid. Where's that from? I know what you're talking about. I don't know the name of it. I don't remember the name of it, Dan. I know what you're talking about, though. Oh, I wrote top sweeps. My bad. Well, when I think of it, Dan, I'll let you know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I used two of them for that. The premium paid. God. One of them is an app. I can't think of the name. It's got a weird name too. What a V is it? I don't know. I can't rack my brain right now. Smoke's coming out of my ears. When I think of it, I'll definitely let you know. What are we gonna say here? Yeah, Tradedix is one of them, and the other one's with a V. But there's so many guys. If you want simple scans to break down volume, there's so many things out there. You know what I mean? Go on Apple iStore apps for $50 a month. You can get these apps that have scans for options. And I'm sure you could get them free these days. The only one that offers you the ability to really dig in that I know as quickly as I would like to do is Trade Alert, but for scans, just volume, and orders and stuff like that, there's so many. But here's the Apple order. Yeah, I was talking about this on the master course last night. Like you see this order comes in, this Apple order. Okay. If I just saw this order and didn't have the ability to look at the flow, you understand, around it, I have no idea what this means. You know what I mean? I have no idea what this means. What happens if somebody closed 20 million worth of Decembers right before this came in, or later on, or whatever the case? That would be net bearish. Took money off the table. So, but if you guys want scans to just scan for orders, go on. Honestly, they're pretty cool too. There's apps all over the place, and they're not that expensive, like $50 a month. But I'm sure you can find them free too. Anyway, here's the Apple order. Here's the Apple order, March 200s. I mean, it's just a big order, you know? Now, like with everything else in Apple, there's so much damn action that how do we know for sure this is not part of all that December call buying that we saw and somebody's rolling out a huge position? You know, we don't know. You know, you can look at open interest changes tomorrow and see if anything closes big enough, but you know, they can very easily close the piece and close the rest of it in coming days. That's the problem with names that catch this type of action and have already been active. Now, if Apple has been in consolidation and the flow's been quiet, because there are many times the flow is quiet in Apple, right? Or just catching weekly sweeps, small potatoes, whatever. And then this comes in, then you got something cooking now. You know what I mean? Now you got something cooking. Now you have something cooking. But, you know, again, you guys know. You guys have been watching the same shit I've been watching. Apple, the flow in Apple's been unconscious. Unconscious. And the stock's been strong too. Here's an order, and we don't like the name. Here's an order. Wells Fargo. All right. You don't see a lot of buying in clean buying in that name. April 55 is a good looking order. $1.2 million sweep. That's why it's on the top bet list. Not a sexy name. Anybody like Wells Fargo? Actually looks pretty decent. You like it, right? Doesn't look all that bad, right? All considering. Looks pretty good. You know, so don't get me wrong, this Apple order is jaw-dropping on its face, you know, but as far as telling us about what may be going on in the name, it's almost like this Wells Fargo order is more meaningful, to be quite honest, as silly as that sounds. You know, but that was a good looking order. You had this sweep, not a bad sweep, toast, Jan 30s. And this action, the only thing I wasn't crazy about was implied vol was down across the board. But this action looked interesting. Dash. You know why? Because there was some accumulation here. You know what I mean? Everything else was just one order, and you never seen them again. Dash, they were buying throughout the day, these May calls. And, you know, this is a legitimate buyer. It's just how clean is the order flow? You know what I mean? Does it roll? Does it do any of that? I didn't see anything close or anything like that. So, and decent spot too, right? This is another name that they loved a week ago. And now, oh, that's right. Jim Chanos short. That's what got it. Good call. What a beating over the last week. But it looks like it can bounce from here anyway. Yeah, with the all-in farmer. Yeah, nice spot off a niner here, Dash. But that was interesting flow. The flow's been very extremely selective. Like this is what the flow has looked like, right? You have this, a name like this, Apple, that they tattoo, right? That's aggressive action. That's beyond aggressive. They just continuously hit it all day long, up, down, sideways, crooked, right? But the majority of everything else has looked like this. You see one good looking order, and then that's it. You know, no commitment. Yeah, as far as I know, he's got a big position in that DM, as far as I know. But he's got a ton of patience, that Bill Miller. Yeah, take two court action yesterday. What's going on with this? That's not a bad spot either, take two. This has been doing nothing for ages. All right, ATVI looks like dog shit. It looks, it looks interesting. It definitely looks interesting. See, for a name like this, what would really get me going like a name like this, take two, we saw that buying come in yesterday, right? Well, today was up. Let's say stock tomorrow, we have a little down open, down day. Stock is down and boom, they come right back to it. You understand? Like they keep coming back to these names. Later, Sean. But we're just not seeing that type of action right now. If we ended up going into some little, if this rally fails, I think we'll have a shot at it. We'll have a shot at it. You remember like Nuon, remember that type of flow we saw in Nuon where it was so hard to buy, but even it just kept coming for it. Yeah, Cuervo's a really nice name. And that's off Apple too, probably, right? They're big Apple. They were buying May calls. Yeah. DT. That pulled back, right? Oh, yeah. Yep. All the listen, you don't even need to ask me. You see sweepers coming after these names again, like they did the last go around. You like them, you hit them. Just don't overstay your welcome. Oh yeah, I heard. Is that what it was? Yeah, honestly, SEC or not, it needed to do something like this anyway. What are the rest of them? What are the? I don't even know what's considered. How about that FSR? What's that doing? Come on. Yeah. They look okay though. Plug. Little breather. They don't look that bad. They don't look that bad. Bova was out pumping this thing again. Oh, that's a nice pullback. Here's another one. OSTK. You got better spots across the board now on these things, Like this is, remember here, right? Is where we were looking at it initially. And then you had a real nice rip. And then, here you can't start new positions here. You can't. So you got really nice spots here now. So if you see flow in these things, you're interested. Definitely for trades. Definitely. Definitely for trades. Right? And again, these are names that catch flow constantly. We don't see flow in these names all the time. Usually on dips and when they're ready to boogie. Affirm, I made a boo-boo yesterday because that affirm action should have been on the top bet list yesterday. Those Febs. I don't know. I forgot to put them on there. But yeah, this is another one. This name catches real action, Affirm. I'm talking about like size-wise. There's some big money that goes into this thing. Big money. Yeah, bombs. Exactly. Bombs. So it's just the right spot, you don't want to chase. And if you can get it on a down day, if you're looking to trade it, When you see sweeper activity into weakness, that's the spot. But look at, you see the difference? Look at this. Upside niner, right? Grinding through it. Just too dangerous. This is a lot better. A lot better. Again, your risk is it rolls over and dies. But if that happens, the likelihood is a big chunk of the market that's going to happen to. But now at least you have some upside you're gambling for here. You see all black, the screen. Who knows with this freaking Zoom? Yeah. Zoom likes to play games with me. Past earnings tomorrow. That's been deadwood, right? AI. Oof. These things the air came out of all these things. Wow. They had earnings too. I didn't pay attention to the quarter. 5 down offer. Oh, you know who else had earnings, man? I sold off that GitLab, right? Were they bad? I didn't really pay attention to it, but I saw wow. But they beat the hell out of all these things. Like when you have the studs get hit, you're gonna have all these secondary names. Oh, you had Jan calls. You need a miracle. MQ, that's a fintech name. That probably could have beaten, right? Yep. CHPT, that's an EV name, right? CHPT. Yep. Oh, they got earnings today. I know a couple people who are all giddy about this name, CHPT. They do charging stations, right? Yeah, I know a couple of buddies of mine are excited about it. Look at this guy. They don't hesitate to scoop up a dip in this name, LSCC. Yeah, I was talking about Dash. There was some interesting May call activity there today. But I want to see what open interest looks like because EV got smashed there for some reason today. I mean, EV. So I don't know how clean it was, Moshe. That's the only problem. I would like to see more. Wolf, that's a semi, right? Wolf, a new semi. Let's see. Yeah, that looks nice. Oh, it's the old Cree. Oh, and I think when I ran out, didn't this name, I think it was a short December. Cirrus, this caught a nice bet today, didn't it? CRUS? Let me see. I think I added it to the new top bet list, the updated one that I gotta post. Yeah, look. Oh, it was December's. That's a pretty nice sweep though, huh? Wow. Does look interesting. Oh, it's part of a spread. So look, you see what Cash just did though, but you see what happened? I wasn't around Cash. That's when I left for a half hour. That's why I didn't post anything on it. But let's say we have just a scan, right? This is what it is, just a scan. Like this looks like a good looking sweep right here. December, and he's dishing out all this cash, close to the money, opening bet. Everything looks beautiful. Now, without the ability to look into the flow and see what the hell went on, it looks like a big sweep, clean. But Cash is telling me there was another trade that went off because he was at the desk. Yep. So he either rolling down strikes or a call spread. We'll find out in the morning. The 95s hit the bid. A little bigger size, might be rolling down strikes. Looking for a higher delta, bigger bang for his buck. Were they open? Was there opening volume there? Do you know, Cash, on the 95s or no? Let me see. They did open. They did open. I have it on a different computer. You mean what it looks like with the flow coming in? I usually show you guys throughout the day. What would be easiest? You understand? So that's what I could see. And figures, I cut off the one order we were talking about. I chopped it. All right, so that's the story, guys. Like I said, we'll see when things update tonight, how much water we took in sentiment-wise, how much of a difference, I don't know what it makes. But like I said, we want something more sustainable. You hope at least the indices fizzle out here a bit. Maybe even around the weakness, God forbid, later in the week, CPI or something like that, where it looks like we're getting a retest. It looks so difficult in one day, right, for that to even happen. But you never know. Hedge funds, I'll show you in a second. Hold on. I'm stuck here. I can't take this. There we go. Oh. This is not the updated one. But this is, it looks like this now. Oh. It looks like that. So they bought, they got caught, and then off that weakness, they spit up a little bit. So it came in a bit. And the other thing too, Sharpie riffraff. You had riffraff on buy signal. Sharpies haven't budged. See riffraff? They spit up all their long exposure too. Yeah, Sharpies. I don't think it's enough. You know what I mean, Robert? I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's enough. Again, there's not enough time behind the consolidation, and there's not enough blood. Exactly. Took the words out of my mouth. And I don't blame them. Yeah, we'll see. The CPI is the next big thing Friday. You got low liquidity, low volume, so things can get a little funky. You got the Fed. You're not going to hear anything from the Fed. They're in a quiet period now. The Fed meeting, when's the Fed meeting, Panda? When's that? What's the date on that? Next week. So the 15th is next week already. Jesus Christ. Every week there's something you got to dodge these days, right? Think about the shorts. It's even worse for them. Every day they're going to dodge something, it feels like. Landmines everywhere. Potential landmines, potential. And it's even worse that a lot of them don't go off because that's when you put your guard down. You know what I mean? So you got the CPI Friday. I'm trying to, there was an interview with, I tell you guys about it all the time, with Chanos. That's when I love Chanos because he's not that cocky, arrogant prick of a fund manager. He tells you the truth. People ask him about short positions. He's like, let me give you the first piece of advice. Don't short. He tells you flat out. He's like, don't short. And there was an interview where he said he could write a book about nightmares that him and his crew would have on shorts. So now they got a whole philosophy where they're so properly hedged, quant wise. They don't put any thought process into it. It's hedged automatically for them. So it takes a lot of the big stress away. But prior to that, I'm telling you, if you heard the interview, you would never short an equity in your life. That was one of the best interviews I could hear early on in my career because it scared the piss out of me on the short side. Stories of, just up all sorts of money and everything looking so great as far as this trade on the short side was concerned. And then, the Fed steps in and did this and poof. So think about that. That's why they're so bitter, the Bears. You can't even blame them. The game's rigged against them. You can blame them because they still do it. It's like that buddy I tell you about who played online blackjack and lost 60 grand. The bookie told him it was a rigged blackjack game, and he continued to play it. What are you going to do? Right? But, they don't have a fair shake in this game. It was on Bloomberg, but this is years ago. Bloomberg had this thing. It was on the radio interview. It wasn't even on TV. I'm showing my age here. There wasn't TV there yet, Moshe. TV didn't exist. Yeah, Morse code. The Citadel, exactly. Yep, they get cocky, exactly. And there are decent short trades that line up, right? They are decent on the more tactical side, but the allure, the short trade, the allure is the home run. But the difficulty behind catching that home run trade on the short side, the agony that goes into it, even if you were the most bearish bear on the face of the earth and had a crystal ball and knew 2008 was going to happen, what you had to sit through to cash that ticket, the news, the rally, the whole 9 yards, impossible. Bailout news, you name it. Yeah, it was so difficult. Michael Berry, right? And now he's having trouble cashing a ticket. Goes to show you. Right? He can't cash a ticket. He calls for a top and then he goes, and then he disappears. Right? It gets to their head. Yeah. He calls a top and then deletes his Twitter for 6 months. He waits till everybody forgets and then calls another top. That's how hard it is. Yeah, the gloom and doom trade, you can't make any money off it. I had a saying early on in my career. Whenever you're unsure, lean bullish. That's simple. If you're on the fence, lean bullish. You're all bared up, go into cash. But that stuck with me throughout. All right, ladies and gents, I'm going to wrap it up. All right. Honestly, I wish today's squeeze didn't happen. One, because I didn't benefit off it. But besides that, it would have been a lot better of a webinar. We would have had a nice game plan to get our hands on some shit. But now we got to see how the cards lay out now. All right. Yep. I appreciate you guys stopping by as always. Enjoy the night. And I'll talk to you guys in a couple of days anyhow. I see the rest of you in the room tomorrow. Later.